I wondered if you could tell me briefly about your past history in sourcing venture capital.
So prior to Get Satisfaction, my experience has been as a board member,
Right.
working alongside CEOs. So oftentimes I was the non-executive board member, the only non-VC around the table, and when it came to a new round, then I would be asked, or I would offer, to go with the CEO on initial meetings to set up a new round. So, that piece of work is very different.
Yes.
Supporting a CEO is very different than raising money as a CEO.
Yes, yeah. So you must have a great love of startups and
I do. I mean, having been an entrepreneur myself, owned my own business, started and founded my own business with 4 other partners.
Yes.
And in that case, though, we were bootstrapped. We didn't use outside capital.
Okay.
And it was a services business, and we basically took mortgages out on our house. Like, that's how we did it.
Yeah.
And because of the services component, the need for capital was different.
Yes.
It wasn't less. It
Yes.
was just different.
Yes.
And so, we built a business from 0 to 50 million in about 6 years, 7 years. And we only had a line of credit. So, and then we were acquired by a big public company. And so I had a view of entrepreneurship through that
Right.
financing lens.
Right.
So basically I would call that self-financing and customer funding.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
None. And so then, as a result of having that exit, I had an opportunity to learn some new things. And one of the things I learned is about venture-backed startups.
Right.
It was very new to me.
Right.
In fact, I remember the very first venture capitalist I ever met was Brad Feld.
Right.
Then at Mobius, now at Foundry.
Yes.
And I remember asking him, so what do you do really? I mean, this was only in 2000, so this was a decade ago.
Yes.
But to think that I had gotten that far in business and had been acquired by Siebel Systems, and everyone thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
And we owned 100% of the business, and I had to ask him, what does that do? It was kind of funny. I laugh about it now when I look back. But it is very different raising money as a CEO.
Yes.
And in this case, with Get Satisfaction, I joined them in March of 2009. When I joined, there was $500,000 in the bank, and we had 9 people, 3 founders, 9 people. They had been unable to raise a proper A. So they had funded, they'd raised from first round capital and OATV $2.5 million, and they'd gotten incredible traction with that. So good on them, because it was good timing, good site, incredible traction outside in, all good things.
Yes.
But then when they tried to raise summer of 08 and fall of 08, remember those? Bad year?
Yeah, very bad.
Very bad year. They were not able to do it because they had no business model. They were trying to raise on momentum, not on financials.
Right.
And because that's how all their friends had done it.
Yep.
Right? And so why not them?
Yeah.
And then of course the near economic collapse certainly stopped that. So long story short, they did a final little 10-cupper round, 500K, new angels. So there's a lot of angels on our shoulders, which we're very grateful for.
Yes.
And that I came in on that money. And as soon as I came in, I had to figure out how to go raise money.
Right. And can I ask, you had obviously learned a lot about venture from the start when you asked Brad, but as being a board member, were you hesitant about becoming a CEO and having to source
Good question. Do you know, I think I was completely so in love with the business and the business model of Get Satisfaction. I did not allow pragmatically this thing about raising money to get in my psyche.
Very good.
I mean, honestly, if I had known what I know now, I probably would have been more hesitant. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
But I would have done it with a lot more realism because it was really challenging.
Hard work. And it takes up so much energy and focus, and
It's
when really you should be running the company.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, okay. Well, good on you, and in a way probably great that you were in a bubble and didn't even think about
I think so.
mention of it.
I think so.
That Get Satisfaction got you, and you got Get Satisfaction. What personal lessons, being a woman, have you taken out of your successes or failures in that regard, as regards investment funding?
Personal lessons. To understand, I think the first lesson is that all of the VCs that I was introduced to, we were in a very good position in that way, and that our seed investors, First Round Capital and OATV, have an incredible network. And their job is to do seed funding and then to hand off their babies to Sand Hill Road or other proper, with larger funds. The biggest lesson is learning how to qualify them, right? The size of the fund, where they are in their funds, like is it 150 or 200 or 5 or $1 billion, because that has to do with the kind of returns they expect.
Yes.
And it's not that I didn't think about it, but I wasn't conscious with the strategy of that data. And therefore, I think I invested too much time meeting and greeting because I was fascinated by it.
Yes. Yeah.
And given my age and my experience, I mean, these are interesting people.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm meeting fill in the blank from fill in the blank, right? That's cool. And he's interesting, and he's, we know the same people. And I think if I were to do it over again, my number one lesson would be to look at the relationships that our seed guys had, to apply a more efficient and strenuous lens on that total market, right? Meaning the VCs, and then decide which of those would be the most likely, based on not just what they had invested in the past, but that would be one criterion, right? But also the size of their fund, also the way they make decisions, where they were in their fund, their particular fund, the one they were investing out of.
Yes.
I mean, again, it all sounds very basic now, but that's a big lesson.
No, I can understand that would be an important piece when you'd come out of a bootstrap company.
That's right. I mean, so that's kind of the left brain, more strategy.
Yes.
And the second lesson would be just to realize that this is not a marketing pitch. It's not a sales pitch. This is an investment pitch.
Yes.
And, I've been in sales and marketing all my life, all my adult life.
Okay.
And I think it's, there's a part of the positioning of the business that is sales and marketing oriented.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, their job, meaning the VC's job, is to bring home a return within a certain payback period for their limiteds.
Yes.
And I think I was not as clear and definitive about that part of my deck as I could have been.
Okay.
And because the business was early, it was early, we didn't have a lot of data.
Yes, yeah.
And the business hadn't been monetizing that long. I mean, you had to, as an investor, you'd have to really think, well, where is this going?
Yes.
Right? So that would be the second thing.
Yeah, okay.
Just more investment-oriented data.
And as a woman, were there any particular lessons that you took away with you personally as a woman, more on the gender side of things?
I've thought about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me about that.
Yeah.
And this is probably, I don't think it's just a gender thing.
Okay.
I think in my case there were 3 dimensions of me that I'm really proud of, but also worked against me compared to other entrepreneurs.
Okay.
There are three.
Okay.
Being a woman over 50 from the South and not having an MBA.
Okay.
So if you, and none of those, I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But in Silicon Valley.
That means a lot.
Right. And by the way, not being a technologist.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm not from Google or eBay,
Yeah.
right? I'm not from MIT or Stanford relative to technology.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm commercial.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is important to these guys, especially with this kind of business, right? Because this
Yeah.
is a disruptive model.
Yes.
It's an online model, but still that was important. And I
Yeah.
see that now.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, the kind of age. I mean, I'm already financially independent.
Yes.
So
yeah.
what's going to motivate this woman?
Yes.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's had a hit
Yeah.
and an exit, and
Yeah.
now at this stage in age, and I don't feel old, but it's just the reality,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why would you go do that? And so
Yeah.
I think they were kind of fascinated and enamored with that.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And also just my background, you know, I'm running an online business, but I'm an enterprise software girl.
Yes.
So I'm jumping tracks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yes.
Although it's in my field of CRM. So I think for me, I never felt, well, you're a woman and therefore it's being hard. I honestly
Great.
never felt that.
Great.
Ever. Not one time.
Right.
But I did feel, I allowed myself to feel less than whole sometimes when I added up all those features,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
You know, those dimensions. I thought, ooh, compared to the other folk they see,
Yeah.
right, that they had invested in before.
Yes.
And remember, I wasn't standing there having brought in a win to another VC,
I understand.
okay?
Yeah.
The win I got was on my own back.
Yes. Yes.
And yet they were very, the VCs, and I'm talking all of them that we met, the
Yes.
top tier on
Yes.
Sand Hill Road and in San Francisco
Yes.
and in New York,
Yes.
right? So they were deeply respectful of that
Yes.
we were bootstrapped
Yes.
and that we got this wonderful exit and therefore we'd made a lot of money.
Yes.
But the fact that we had made that working through a venture capitalist situation, you know, so it's just different.
It's a different model.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so really, I guess what I'm hearing is that this challenged you in ways, but it didn't challenge you on an agenda.
No,
issue.
I couldn't say that.
Fantastic. Okay. So, when you met all these VCs, did you notice that there was any attitude towards you being female at all?
You know, not really.
No. That's so good, isn't it?
No, I mean, these are really smart,
Yes.
skilled folks.
Yes.
They have a job to do. They had
Yes.
limited partners to
Yes.
prove their value to.
Yes.
I respected their jobs immediately, and I think they respected mine. And, I mean, I'm so fortunate. I'm representing an incredible business.
I know.
That's incredibly disruptive.
Yes. it's
And,
incredible.
you know, so for them, it wasn't really about me being a female as much as it about this business at this stage in this economy.
Okay.
I'm guaranteeing you now, you know, like we're off to the races and
Yes.
businesses on. I mean, we've
Yes.
raised money too, but
Yes.
it was just early.
Yes. Yes.
It was early, and not in terms of business overall, but for this particular business, it was early.
So you're quite remarkable, really, in the fact that you didn't tick all the usual boxes when you were going to pitch for venture, and you said that at times you felt less than whole.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Can I ask what antidote you used in that respect to support yourself? Because
No, it's a good question, and it was really tough.
Yeah.
So the specific time period was June through December of last year,
right.
of 09.
Right.
And it was a lonely, dark
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I imagine.
And so what did I do to kind of replenish myself and keep from kind of going goofy, right?
Yes.
Or getting down, because I
Yes.
couldn't afford that.
Yes, you had to build your confidence.
I did. I had a
pitching.
couple of very, very close advisor friends.
Fantastic.
One that had worked for me before, and he raised a bunch of money after we worked together, and just wicked smart and completely loving and open and knew me well.
Oh, right.
So when he would see me kind of get into a funky spot,
Yeah.
a spot of doubt,
Yes.
he would help. You know,
Fantastic.
and many times Saturday mornings at 6:30 a.m., he lives in Portland, you know, he would call and say, "How are you?" And I would say, "Terrible."
Oh.
And I actually had a term sheet pulled, which made it even worse.
Oh, gee.
So I got one pretty quickly
Yes.
from a very major firm, and
Yes.
then for a range of reasons, they changed their mind. It was never executed,
Right.
but it was delivered.
Right.
So, you know, and I
That would
went...
have been a crisis of confidence.
Oh man, and
Yeah.
I went through a lot of jump through hoops, properly
Yes.
so, to,
Yes.
you know, before I got the physical term sheet
Yes.
through email, and then the weekend before the final signatures and
Yes.
references and all of that, and then they chose not to do it, and it was very distressing to me personally,
Right.
professionally, and to the company.
Right.
That was the darkest moment
Right.
relative to the financing.
Right.
But you know, you reach out to your friends. You know, I have a sweet dog, and I walk
Yes.
him around the block, and no one from my family would understand.
No, I know.
I mean, it would make no sense to them, because
such
they thought
different
I'd lost my
culture.
mind for doing this in the first place, right? Why don't you just go to Bali and hang out?
Yeah.
What are you doing? So friends, I have a lot of wonderful girlfriends at
Right.
watermark.org, at Ostia. I mean,
Okay.
Chris Shipley would help me. I mean, Diane Green, the founder of VMware, we would ride bikes, and she would say, "Okay, don't lose your cool."
Right.
So a lot of good female friends, a lot of good advisors who'd been through the business,
Right.
and just my own, you know, understanding the value and power of solitude.
Yes, that can be really
Very
healing.
restorative.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree with you on that one. Thank you so much for sharing that personal stuff.